One of the things that will forever keep me a fan of video games is watching how developers will take an idea that was previously worked on and give it its own spin, be it by tweaking the gameplay systems or by adding depth where its predecessors did not. Volume is a great example of this. The first way I can describe Volume for you is by calling it for what it is. This is Metal Gear Solid VR Missions, an entire game dedicated to it, but also it is one that takes the idea and tells a story of its own, all of it while evolving the simpler gameplay systems of MGS-VR and making it into a fun arcade challenge style game. But how much does this game manage to stand on its own is what we are here to find out, starting with the basics. In Volume, we play under the mask of Loxley, a young man living in a dystopian future, where poverty runs rampant while corporate executives, corrupt politicians, and other members of a high society keep lining out their own pockets. Determined to take the fight to them, he starts streaming a series of VR simulations, heists to pull on select targets, to secure their money and valuables, and even some evidence to end their careers and tip balance in favor of the people. The idea being that it will encourage others to pull this heist on the real deal. And that's about it really. This game has a staggering 100 levels of pure stealth fun. Now, with a number that big, you will feel like it may suffer from content bloat, but what I played was paced well enough that the game never truly overstayed its welcome. The way the game accomplishes this is with some really good pacing. Rather than overwhelm you with tutorials, the game will simply give you the basics and what you are supposed to do. And from there, the game lets you play around with those new skills for a few levels before introducing something else. For starters, Loxley is doing a full non-lethal run. Guards are well armed and true to the Metal Gear style, they will swarm and kill you without hesitation, so you want to use your wits and your skills to sneak past them. And that's just the first layer of the challenge. The second layer, this being a heist-style game, is to grab all of the diamonds in the level so you can unlock the exit and get to the next part. And this takes us into the third layer. Getting to those diamonds is a whole different challenge. Given that you are stealing from rich people, diamonds are often going to be heavily guarded, usually in places where being spotted is very easy, so you want to use the level design to your advantage. From something traditional like taking advantage of holes in patrol patterns, to simply crouching down and sneaking right under the guard noses so they don't even realize what happens until you're already on your way to the exit. Thanks to the pacing of the levels, just as you are growing comfortable with the current mechanics, the game starts adding new ones and more challenges to it. We can go from having floors that make a loud noise when you step on them, alerting nearby guards to come and investigate, to have levels where enemy patrols simply don't stop moving. And you have to sneak along their path if you want to truly stay out of sight, so you have to be a quick thinker and always be on the move. But it's not like you are helpless against the guards. There is a small window from the moment you are detected to the moment you get shot, forcing a reset to the last checkpoint you had. If you use the walls and covers to your advantage, you can break the line of sight, sometimes giving you enough time to get away from them, and in some cases, you can even use that to give yourself a window to sneak into the heavier guarded areas, since your disruption will punch a hole in their defenses. And with those new skills you pick up and the new gadgets you get to play with depending on the levels, the game starts cranking up the challenge further and further, where you do need to start putting into practice everything you learn if you want to survive. Because some enemy guards are beyond relentless, and the only way to truly avoid them is to be fast enough to outrun them. I could go further into the details of each of the 100 levels, but that will be both a major spoiler, and also there are other things I want to mention that made me love this game. In order to prevent the levels from starting to feel samey or too monotonous, almost every single one of them is using a different color palette. It doesn't feel like much at first, but after you spend enough time stuck on one level trying to figure out a solution, reaching a new one with a different set of colors has a fun effect. Makes you feel satisfied, like you are making progress towards that 100% completion. And on that note, I did say the game had a story, didn't I? You may be wondering, how does a top-down stealth game can manage to tell a story without using cutscenes and not many changes to camera angles? The answer is simple really. Since Loxley is live streaming all of his VR runs, it means the world is moving outside the simulation. Among the people reacting to his exploits is Alan, an AI program that Loxley has hacked in order to set up these VR missions, going rather deep into the usual themes of the Ghost in the Machine, and wondering about the moral complexities of helping our heroes start a social revolt, and the consequences that come with it.
This is the right solution, yes. Things will be better with the poor richer. I understand the sentiment, taking back what was stolen, but we're sure that's simple.
It's some really fun banter, and it does remind you that this isn't just a set of fun stealth challenges. There is a narrative, and there are stakes, along with a race against the clock because, before he gained sentience, Alan ended up calling the cops on Loxley, so you essentially had to finish showcasing your VR heist before the cops converge on you. To complement the narrative, there is also the documents located on various levels of the game. They are of course flavor text, but they do a great job in giving you a picture of how bad things are in this dystopic world, and why it is important to succeed in your mission, even if you may be only one guy. But of course, this is an indie game, and as much as I love it, I do have to point out there are things that could be done better. Things that could be improved upon with a sequel, and it just makes me sad because taking a look at this developer, they never really made more games in this style. And Metal Gear inspired games are not as common as they look outside of the AAA market. At least as far as I know, I would need to look deeper into it. While I enjoy a lot of the little banter between characters during the levels, sometimes the dialogue can be interrupted, either by getting accidentally spotted or because you started reading a note. This doesn't feel so bad at first. The problem is the more you advance into the game, these interruptions not only become more frequent, but also the dialogue itself can get a little bit distracting, especially if they happen to be on the harder levels.
It took a bit of work, but my engineer...
In theory, this isn't that big of a deal. In order to spare you from being stuck in an eternal conversation, once dialogue finishes playing, it doesn't repeat anymore, even if you were killed and taken back to the checkpoints. Then again, it is VR. But it is still a minor issue since you can potentially miss some story bits with being focused on completing these levels.
You've used a virtual training environment before, I assume?
No, but I'm excited to try. I'm Rob, by the way.
Hi, Rob. Alan.
Alan?
I can assure you that artificial life solution...
The other thing I feel could have used improvement is the movement system. I get it that this is a stealth game and moving slowly is important because you are trying not to make noise, but I feel like your walking speed should be able to be higher if you get spotted, because it does come off weird for Loxley to be still trying to tippy-toe his way out of danger as a big enemy is rushing towards him with a big sword. I only consider these things that could improve and not downright promise that ruin the experience because this game is very generous with the checkpoints. There is plenty of them scattered around the levels, so there's only very little progress lost whenever you get caught, so frustration is never going to be an issue. Other than that, I think this game is great. It's an absolute hidden gem, and it really makes me sad to know there is no sequel or that no other developer has tried to tackle the style of the first Metal Gear Solid. And trust me, I did try looking up similar games, and not even the Reddit search brought any satisfying results. So I guess it's a good thing I ended up enjoying Volume so much. I even got all the achievements for it. It scratched all the right itches, and true to its Metal Gear inspiration, there is a lot of social-political themes and subtext, a lot of talk against classism, and the reality that if you want to change things in the world or even in your own life, then you will have to get your hands dirty and shoulder both the good and the bad that come with it. It does help a lot this is a very subtle futuristic adaptation of Robin Hood, right down to Rob being Loxley's first name. So the long story short is, I love this game. It managed to scratch all the right itches, and it even managed to tell a very compelling story. There's even a fair bit of replayability to it, since you get a timer to see how long it takes you to beat each level, so there's a fair bit of speedrunning material. I really hate that even for an indie game, this is a hidden gem. I'm not gonna rant again, so instead I will say, this game is a testament to how the indie market still has a lot of untapped potential, even in 2023, and why this is a great example of why I don't think I'll ever stop playing video games. Because even when the AAA market has some slumps, and when gaming companies keep playing it safe with the usual IPs and multiplayer only games, the middle and indie markets will always have alternatives for me. I no longer carry the same level of care I used to have for IPs, so instead my priority is to find something, anything that will give me the fun and joy gaming always brings me. And if that means I'm gonna be digging through an endless catalog with countless hidden gems buried within, then I'll say it is a hobby more than worth staying on.